Book of Heaven, Volume 14, Part 4. April 8th, 1922. The Most Holy Trinity, veiled in the soul. Sorrow of Jesus in seeing the will, the intelligence, and the memory of man deformed. Finding myself in my usual state, I was thinking about the sorrow that my sweet Jesus suffered in the Garden of Gethsemane, when all our sins presented themselves before his sanctity. And Jesus, all afflicted, told me in my interior, "My daughter, my sorrow was great and incomprehensible to created mind, especially when I saw the human intelligence deformed, the beautiful image of me that I reproduced in it, no longer beautiful, but ugly, horrid. I endowed the soul with will, intellect, and memory. In the first shone my celestial Father, who, as first act, communicated his power, his sanctity, his height, by which he elevated the human will, investing it with his own sanctity, power, and nobility, leaving all currents open between himself and the human will, so that it might be enriched more and more with the treasures of my divinity. Between the human will and the divine, there was neither yours nor mine, but everything in common, with mutual accord. It was our image, our own thing, so it veiled us. Our life was to be its own, and therefore as first act, he constituted her will free and independent, just as first act, was the will of my celestial Father. But how much has this will disfigured itself! Free as it was, it rendered itself the slave of most vile passions. Ah, it is the will that is the beginning of all the evils of man. It can no longer be recognized. How it decayed from its nobility! It is disgusting to look at. Now, as second act, I, Son of God, concurred by endowing her with intellect, communicating to her my wisdom, the knowledge of all things, so that by knowing them she might enjoy them and delight in what is good. But alas, what a bilge of vices is the intelligence of the creature! She has used knowledge to deny her Creator. Then, as third act, the Holy Spirit concurred by endowing her with memory, so that in remembering so many benefits, she might be in continuous currents of love, in continuous relations. Love was to crown her, embrace her, and permeate all of her life. But how saddened the eternal love remains! This memory remembers pleasures, riches, and even to sin, while the sacrosanct Trinity is cast out of the gifts given to its creature. My sorrow was indescribable at seeing the deformity of the three powers of man. We had formed our royal palace in him, and he had cast us out. April 12th, 1922. Sin breaks the current of love and opens the current of justice. As I was in my usual state, my sweet Jesus made himself seen, all afflicted, almost in act of giving course to justice, but as though forced by creatures themselves. I prayed him to hold back the scourges, and he told me, My daughter, between creator and creature there is nothing but currents of love. Sin breaks this current and opens the current of justice. My justice defends the rights of my offended love, of my love broken between creator and creature, and making its way into their midst, it would want to reunite this broken love. If man would not sin, my justice would have nothing to do with the creature. As guilt begins, my justice puts itself on the way. Do you think that I wanted to strike man? No. No, on the contrary, it grieves me. It is hard for me to touch him. But he himself forces me to, and induces me to strike him. You pray that man may mend his ways, so justice, quickly reuniting the current of love, shall be able to withdraw. April 13th, 1922. Triple affirmation of wanting to live in the divine will. The soul who lives in the divine will lives in the womb of the most holy Trinity. I was continuing my usual prayers, and my always lovable Jesus, surprising me from behind my shoulders, called me by name, telling me, "Luisa, daughter of my will, do you want to live always in my will?" And I, "Yes, O Jesus." And he, "But is it really true that you want to live in my will?" And I, "It is really true, my love, nor would I adapt myself to living of another will." And Jesus again, "But do you say it firmly?" Now, seeing myself confounded, and almost fearing, I added, "My life, Jesus, you make me fear with these questions. Explain yourself better. I say it firmly, but always helped by you, and in the strength of your will, such that, as it involves me completely, I could not do without living in your volition." And he, heaving a sigh of relief, repeated, "How happy I am with your triple affirmation! Do not fear. These are nothing other than reassurances, reaffirmations, and confirmations, so as to impress in you the triple seal of the will of the three divine persons. You must know that the one who lives in my will must rise high, but so high as to live in the womb of the sacrosanct Trinity. Your life and ours must be one. Therefore it is necessary, it is decorous, that you know where you are, and with whom you are, that in everything you conform to what we do, and that, not by force, but willingly, with love and with full knowledge, you live in our womb. Now, do you know what our divine life is? We amuse ourselves very much in issuing from us new images of ourselves. We are in continuous act of forming our images, so much so that heaven and earth are filled with our images. Their shadows flow everywhere. The sun is our image, and its light is the shadow of ours that overshadows all the earth. The heavens are our image, which extend everywhere and carry the shadow of our immensity. Man is our image, who carries within himself our power, wisdom, and love. So we do nothing other than continuously produce our images that resemble us. Now, the one who must live in our will, living in our womb, must form many other copies of ourselves together with us. She must be together with us in our work. She must let copies and shadows of us come out of herself, filling the whole of the earth and heaven. Now, in creating the first man, we formed him with our hands, and breathing over him, we gave him life. Once we made the first, all the others take origin from and are copies of the first. Our power, flowing through all generations, reproduces copies of him. Now, since we constitute you firstborn daughter of our will, it is necessary that you live with us in order to form the first copy of the soul who lives in our will, so that as she lives in us, she may receive our attitude and may learn with our power to operate according to our way. And once we have made of you the first copy of the soul who lives in our will, the other copies shall come. The way of our will is extremely long. It embraces eternity. And while it seems that one has navigated the way, much remains for her to do and to receive from us in order to learn our ways and to form the first copy of the soul who lives in our will. This is the greatest work we must do. Therefore we must give you much, and it is befitting to dispose you much, so that you may receive. This is the reason for my repeated questions. It is to dispose you, to enlarge you, and to elevate you in order to accomplish my designs. I care so much about it that I would leave everything aside in order to reach my purpose. Therefore, be attentive and faithful. April 17th, 1922. The divine will, acting in the soul, forms the image of the three divine persons and constitutes her queen of everything. Continuing in my usual state, I found myself outside of myself, and I found my sweet Jesus, my life, my all. From him came out innumerable suns of light that surrounded him. I flew into the midst of that light, and throwing myself into his arms, I clasped him very tightly, telling him, "Finally I found you. Now I shall not leave you any more. You make me wait so long, and I remain without life without you. But without life I cannot be. Therefore, now I shall not leave you any more." And I squeezed him more tightly, for fear that he might escape. And Jesus, as though enjoying my squeezes, told me, "My daughter, do not fear. I shall not leave you either. If you cannot be without me, neither can I be without you. And to make you certain that I do not leave you, I want to chain you with my same light." I remained so immersed and interwoven within the light of Jesus that it seemed to me that I would no longer find the way to get out. How happy I felt, and how many things I comprehended in that light. I lack the words to express myself. I just remember that he said to me, "Daughter of my will, this light that you see is nothing other than my will, which wants to consume your will in order to give you the shape of our image, that is, of the three divine persons, in such a way that, transforming you completely into ourselves, we shall leave in you our volition as divine actor that matches us in whatever we do. So our images shall come out from us, and our will, acting in you, shall assume as many of them. Oh, how the purpose of creation shall be fulfilled! The echo of our will shall be the echo of our will possessed by you. The exchanges shall be mutual. Love shall be reciprocal. we shall be in full harmony. The creature shall disappear within her creator, and then nothing else shall be lacking to our joy, to our happiness, for which we issued the creation. The "let us make man in our image and likeness" shall have its effect, and our will alone, as actor in the creature, shall give completion to everything, and creation shall bring us the divine purpose, and we shall receive it into our womb as our work, just as we issued it. And besides, if you cannot be without me, it is the echo of my love that resounds in your heart, such that, unable to be without you, it reverberates in you. And you, shaken, see he who so much loves you. And I, seeing myself sought for, feel the echo of your love in mine, and I feel drawn to send you a new current of love, so that you may seek me more. And I, ah, my love, sometimes as much as I seek you, you do not come, and therefore now that I have found you, I shall not leave you any more. I shall no longer go back to my bed. I cannot. You made me wait too long, and I fear that if I go back, you shall repeat your privations. And I squeezed him more tightly, repeating, I won't leave you any more. I won't leave you any more. And Jesus, though he enjoyed my squeezes, told me, my beloved daughter, you are right that you cannot be without me, without your life. But what are we going to do with my will? Indeed, it is my will that wants you to return to your bed. Do not fear. I do not leave you. I shall leave the current of the light of my will between you and me, and whenever you want me, you shall touch the current of the light of my volition, and I, immediately, upon its wings, shall be with you. Therefore go back, but for nothing else than to allow my will to accomplish its designs, and the course it wants to take in you. I myself shall accompany you, to give you the strength to go back. But, oh goodness of Jesus, it seemed that if he did not have my consent, neither would he feel like making me go back. And as soon as I said, Jesus, do whatever you want, I found myself back inside myself. Now, the whole day I felt surrounded by light, and whenever I wanted him, I touched the light, and he would come. Then, the following day, he carried me outside of myself, and made me see all created things, of which not only was Jesus the creator and dominator, but from him came the life of the preservation of all things. The current of the creative power was in continuous relations with them, and if it were missing, all things would resolve into nothing. Then my sweet Jesus told me, to the daughter of my will, I want to give supremacy over everything. My dominion and hers must be one. If I am king, she must be queen. And if I gave you knowledge of everything, it is because I want that you not only know my dominions, but that together with me, you dominate and concur in the preservation of all created things. Just as my will extends from me over all, so do I want it to extend from you. Then he made me notice one point of the world from which black smoke was coming out. And he, see, over there are statesmen who want to decide the lots of kingdoms, but they do it without me. and where I am not present, there cannot be light. They have nothing but the smoke of their passions that blinds them more. Therefore they shall come up with nothing good, but it shall serve them to embitter one another and cause graver consequences. Poor peoples, led by blind and interested men, these men shall be pointed at as the laughing-stock of history, good only at bringing ruin and confusion. But let us withdraw. Let us leave them at the mercy of themselves, that they may know what it means to do things without me. Then he disappeared, and I found myself inside myself. April 21st, 1922. Effects of the prayer in the most holy will of God. Everything that I have written, and that I write, is only to obey, and more so, for fear that my Jesus, being displeased, might find a pretext to deprive me of himself. He alone knows how much it costs me. So I spent one day without Jesus, just a few shadows of him. Oh God, what pain! I was saying to myself, how quickly he broke his promise of not leaving me. Oh, holy eternal will, bring me my highest good, my all. And the pain I felt was such that I felt huffy and fussy. But in this state, I tried to fuse myself in his holy volition. In the meantime he came, making himself seen while crying bitterly, with his heart cut into many pieces. In seeing him cry, I put my huffiness aside, and hugging him and drying his tears, I said to him, "What is it, Jesus, that you are crying? Tell me, what have they done to you?" And he, "Ah, my daughter, they want to challenge me. It is an awful challenge that they are preparing for me, and this from the leaders. My sorrow is so great that I feel my heart being cut into pieces. Ah, how just it is that my justice pour itself out against creatures. Therefore come together with me into my will. Let us rise between heaven and earth, and adore together the supreme majesty. Let us bless him, and give him homage for all, so that heaven and earth may be filled with adorations, homages, and blessings, and all may receive the effects of them." So I spent the morning praying together with Jesus in his will. But, oh surprise! As we prayed, one was the word, but the divine volition diffused it over all created things, and the mark of it remained on them. It brought it into the empyreum, and not only did all the blessed receive the mark of it, but it was cause of new beatitude for them. It descended down below to the earth, and even into purgatory, and all received the effects of it. But who can say how it was to pray with Jesus, and all the effects that it produced? Then, after we had prayed together, he told me, "My daughter, did you see what it means to pray in my will? Just as there is not one point in which my volition is not present, it circulates in everything and in everyone. It is life, actor and spectator of everything. In the same way, the acts done in my volition become life, actors and spectators of everything, even of the very joy, beatitude, and happiness of the saints. Everywhere they bring light, the balsamic and celestial air that unleashes joys and happiness. Therefore never depart from my will, Heaven and earth await you to receive new joy and new splendor. April 25th, 1922. Thousands of angels are placed as custodians of the acts done in the divine will. Continuing in my usual state, I felt all immersed in the divine volition, and my sweet Jesus told me, "My daughter, just as the sun does not leave the plant, but caresses it with its light, fecundates it with its heat, until it produces fruits and flowers, and jealous, it makes them mature, it guards them with its light, and only when the farmer picks the fruit to make of it his food, then does it leave it. The same for the acts done in my will. My love, my jealousy toward them is so great that grace caresses them. My love conceives them, fecundates them, and matures them. I place thousands of angels as custodians of one single act done in my will. In fact, since these acts done in my will are seeds, so that my will may be done on earth as it is in heaven, all are jealous of these acts. Their dew is my breath, their shadow is my light. The angels remain enraptured by them, and reverent, they adore them, because in these acts they see the eternal will that deserves all their adoration. And only when I find other souls who, picking them as divine fruits, make of them food for their souls, then are these acts left. Oh, the fecundity and multiplicity of these acts! The creature herself who does them cannot count them. Then I was thinking to myself, how is it possible that these acts be so great? And why are even the angels enraptured by them? And Jesus, clasping me more tightly in his arms, added, "My daughter, these acts are so great that, as the soul keeps doing them, there is nothing, either in heaven or on earth, in which she does not take part. She remains in communication with all created things. All the good, the effects, the value of the heavens, of the sun, of the stars, of water, of fire, and so forth, are not only in continuous relations with her, but they are her own things. She harmonizes with all creation, and all creation harmonizes in her. Why then? Because those who live in my will are the depositories, the preservers, the supporters, the defenders of my will. They foresee what I want, and without my commanding, they execute what I want. And comprehending the greatness, the sanctity of my will, they guard it and defend it jealously. How could all not remain enraptured in seeing these souls who form the support of their God, by virtue of the prodigy of my will? Who can ever defend my rights, if not the one who lives in my will? Who can ever truly love me, with love of disinterest, similar to my love, if not the one who lives in my will? I feel stronger in these souls, but strong of my own strength. I am like a king surrounded by faithful ministers, who feels stronger, more glorious, more supported in the midst of his faithful ones than by himself alone. If he remains alone, he regrets not having his ministers, because he has no one with whom to pour himself out, and to whom to entrust the lot of his kingdom. So I am, and who can ever be more faithful to me than the one who lives in my will? I feel my will being duplicated. Therefore I feel more glorious. I pour myself out with them. and I trust them. You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven, Volume 14, Part 4. Fiat.